Darth, Theorist, rise. What if Anakin and Obi-Wan swapped roles in Episode 2? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. The ornate chambers of the Jedi Council hum as 12 masters deliberate the fate of a single senator. Outside the transparisteel windows, Coruscant's endless traffic flows in patterns unchanged for millennia. Padmé Amidala has survived 2 assassination attempts in as many days. Obi-Wan stands at the chamber's center alongside Anakin. The weight of recent events presses down on them all, not just the attacks on Senator Amidala, but something deeper. The assassination attempts against Senator Amidala require immediate action, but the Council faces a complication.
Masters, I speak honestly about my apprentice. Anakin's feelings for Senator Amidala have grown beyond professional respect. If we assign him to her protection...
Attachment. Dangerous it is. Cloud judgment. Strong feelings can. But run from them we should not. Test them perhaps we must.
Master Yoda, surely you're not suggesting we deliberately place Skywalker in a position where his emotions could be compromised?
Masters, I request permission to investigate the assassination attempts.
Skywalker, the Council has not yet determined assignments for this investigation.
Master Windu, with respect, I believe I'm the right choice for the investigation. My connection to Senator Amidala gives me insight into potential threats, but pursuing the assassin would remove me from direct contact with her. It would be the perfect test of attachment, proving I could prioritize duty over personal feelings.
Interesting perspective Skywalker provides. Test attachment through separation, perhaps we can. Investigate the attempts, you will. Protect Senator Amidala, Master Kenobi shall.
Master Yoda, this approach is unconventional. Are we certain it's wise to reverse the traditional dynamic?
Tradition, useful it is, but blind adherence to tradition, dangerous it can be. Learn both, Master and Apprentice must. Different lessons, perhaps they need.
Thank you, Masters. I won't disappoint you. I'll pursue this investigation with the thoroughness it deserves and report everything I discover.
The investigation will require patience, Anakin. Evidence must be gathered carefully, witnesses questioned thoroughly. Don't let your emotions drive you to hasty conclusions.
As the Council session ends, Obi-Wan catches Anakin's arm as they walk toward the exit.
Anakin, what you said in there about using this assignment as a test, did you mean it?
Every word. I know what I feel for Padmé, Master, but I also know what it means to be a Jedi. This investigation will prove I can separate duty from desire.
Then may the Force be with you, my young friend. And Anakin, trust in yourself. You have good instincts when you listen to them.
Some days later, Anakin brings the saber dart to Dexter Jettster, invoking Obi-Wan's name to earn trust. Dexter recognizes the weapon immediately, tracing it to its secretive cloners beyond the Outer Rim. The identification unsettles Anakin, not just because of the implication, but because the entire world tied to such precision is unknown to him. But when he reaches the vast halls of the Jedi Archives, his confidence wavers.
Camino? No. Camino doesn't exist. If an item does not appear in our records, it does not exist.
The dismissal is absolute, but something about it feels wrong to Anakin. The archives are comprehensive, yes, but they're not infallible. Someone could have removed information, someone with access, with authority, with a reason to hide in an entire star system. A young Padawan working on a navigation study notices Anakin's frustration and approaches tentatively.
Master Skywalker, I couldn't help notice you're studying the Rishi Maze region. We learned about that area last week. There's a gravitational anomaly near the Lonely Point. Stellar mass that doesn't appear on the political charts, but shows up in deep-range sensors.
The child's innocent observation hits Anakin, a system that exists physically but not officially. Someone has deliberately erased Camino from the archives, but who has access to altered Jedi records? And why would they want to hide an entire world of cloners? Meanwhile, on Naboo's peaceful lake country, a very different investigation unfolds. Obi-Wan Kenobi walks beside Padmé Amidala through the gardens of her family's retreat.
Master Kenobi, I've been thinking about the timing of these attacks. They came just as the Senate prepared to vote on the Military Creation Act.
You suspect political motivation rather than personal vendetta.
I know it sounds paranoid, but nothing about these attacks feels random. The assassin used expensive equipment, professional techniques. Someone invested significant resources in killing me specifically.
Senator, in your experience, who benefits most from increased military tension in the Republic?
Military contracts, certainly. senators from systems that would house new facilities, but also anyone who wants to expand emergency powers.
The conversation continues for hours, ranging across topics that reveal the scope of Republic corruption. Some days later on Naboo, their informal investigation uncovers disturbing patterns. Military contracts awarded without competitive bidding. Discussions about emergency powers are being floated around.
Senator, what you're describing isn't simple corruption. This appears to be systematic preparation for something larger.
A military coup.
Perhaps, or something more subtle. Someone is laying groundwork for expanding authority.
Back on Coruscant, Anakin's investigation takes a dramatic turn. Using astronomical data and the Padawan's gravitational observations, he calculates the likely location of the hidden system. When he requires permission from the Council to investigate, the response surprises him.
Skywalker, this investigation has revealed complexities beyond simple assassination attempts. If an entire star system has been erased from our records, this suggests conspiracy at the highest levels. Masters, someone with access to our archives wanted this system hidden. That means the threat could be inside the Republic itself.
Deep cover investigation this requires. Weeks or months it may take. Alone you will need to work. Trust your judgment, we must.
Your instincts have led us this far, Anakin. The Force is guiding you toward truth. Follow that guidance. But remember, patience often reveals more than speed.
I understand, Master. I'll be careful. Thorough. Whatever this conspiracy is, I'll uncover it.
As Anakin prepares for his solo mission to Kamino, for the first time in his career, he will investigate alone, make decisions without Obi-Wan's counsel, and potentially face dangers that could reshape the galaxy. The raging storms of Kamino assault Anakin's starfighter as he descends through layers of churning clouds toward a world that shouldn't exist. Lightning illuminates massive platforms extending from the endless ocean's surface, a civilization built on stilts above an angry sea. The technology is impressive, but something about it feels wrong, too organized, too purposeful, too much like preparation for something specific rather than natural development. Taun We greets him with the casual efficiency of someone expecting his arrival, and that expectation sends the first chill of real alarm through Anakin's chest.
Master Jedi, welcome to Kamino. We have been expecting you.
Expecting me?
Of course. Master Sifo-Dyas informed us that a Jedi would come to inspect the army, though we expected someone sooner, given the advanced stage of development.
Army? Sifo-Dyas? The Jedi Master died years ago, long before any army was commissioned. But as Taun We leads him through pristine corridors toward the production facilities, the scope of what he's discovered becomes terrifyingly clear. Thousands of identical clone troopers move in perfect formation through training exercises. Ships, weapons, armor, an entire military force ready for deployment. Not in development, not in planning. Ready.
As requested by Master Sifo-Dyas, we have produced 200,000 units, with 1 million more in various stages of development. The 1st Battalion is prepared for immediate deployment.
200,000?
Clone troopers, yes. Bred for combat, trained from birth, absolutely loyal to the Republic. The finest soldiers in the galaxy, modified for enhanced effectiveness.
And the genetic template? Where did that come from?
Jango Fett, the best bounty hunter in the galaxy. He resides here on Kamino, overseeing training protocols. Would you like to meet him?
Every instinct Anakin has developed during his years of dangerous missions screams warnings as they approach Jango Fett's quarters. The man who emerges is compact, professional, and radiates the controlled lethality.
So, you're the Jedi sent to check on the army. Took longer than expected.
Mr. Fett, can you tell me about the original commission? Who made the actual arrangements with the Kaminoans?
I was hired to provide genetic material and training consultation. The financial arrangements went through intermediaries. Professional courtesy. I don't ask clients unnecessary questions.
But you must have met with someone. Contracts this large require direct negotiation.
Kid, you're asking the wrong questions. The army exists. The Republic needs it. Everything else is political above my pay grade.
Before Anakin can respond, proximity alarms begin sounding throughout the facility. Emergency lights flash as automated systems announce the departure of multiple ships. Jango is already moving, his armor appearing with practiced efficiency.
Looks like our conversation ends here, Jedi. I have orders to follow.
The escape unfolds with professional smoothness. Django's ship, Slave One, launches from the platform while Anakin is still processing what he's learned. Standing alone on the storm-lashed platform, watching Slave One disappear into hyperspace, Anakin finally understands the scope of what he's discovered. This isn't just a conspiracy, it's a trap. Someone wanted a Jedi to find this army. Someone planned for this discovery. On the peaceful world of Naboo, Obi-Wan and Padmé receive Anakin's detailed report with growing alarm. The holographic transmission from Kamino shows clone troopers in perfect formation, ships ready for deployment, weapons stockpiled for immediate use.
Anakin, you're certain this army was commissioned in the Republic's name?
Completely certain, Master. The Kaminoans have documentation, payment records, everything. But it's all traced back to Master Sifo Dyas, who died years before the commission was placed.
Someone using forged Jedi authorization to create a military crisis. Master Kenobi, if this army suddenly becomes available during a vote on military creation...
The Senate will approve emergency powers to deploy it immediately. Fear will override constitutional process.
We need to expose this before the Senate vote. If we can prove the army was created through deception...
Senator, the possibility of deception isn't enough. We need to identify who benefits from this crisis, who has the authority to place orders using dead Jedi credentials, who profits from emergency military deployment.
Back on Kamino, Anakin continues his investigation with methodical thoroughness. The clone troopers themselves are impressive, intelligent, capable, genuinely committed to protecting the Republic, but their conditioning troubles him. They show no curiosity about their origins, no questions about their ultimate purpose. They exist to follow orders, nothing more. The technology that created them represents advances beyond anything in the public record. Genetic modification, accelerated growth, behavioral conditioning, capabilities that suggest resources and knowledge far beyond what most systems possess. But the most disturbing of all are the behavioral modification protocols built into the Army's training med regimen. Buried in medical files and psychological conditioning reports, Anakin discovers references to enhanced loyalty programming and emergency compliance directives that go far beyond normal military discipline. The clones have been subjected to neural conditioning that could override their natural judgment during unspecified crisis scenarios. The documentation is deliberately vague. No specific orders are listed, just references to contingency activation protocols that would bypass normal command structures. Someone has built psychological triggers into these soldiers, but the exact nature of those triggers remains hidden in classified Kaminoan research files. As he copies the data and prepares for departure, alarms flash across the Kaminoan communications network. Subtle signals, automated message to Republic systems indicating emergency requests and unusual activity. Someone is clearly preparing the galaxy for a reaction to this army, and Anakin realizes the threat isn't just military, it's political. Panic, carefully engineered, is already beginning to ripple through the Senate and the systems that will rely on its decision. His comm link chimes with an incoming transmission from Naboo. Obi-Wan's image appears, but something in his master's expression suggests urgency beyond their ongoing investigation. Meanwhile, in a remote sector near Geonosis, a small contingent of separatist droid forces stages a calculated incursion on a disputed world. The attack is limited, precise, and carefully timed to create maximum alarm without triggering full-scale war. Republic observers report the skirmish as a dire threat, and automated alerts ripple through the Senate. It is exactly the type of crisis someone would want to push emergency military authorizations for, an engineered test to see how quickly the Republic reacts.
Anakin, we've received disturbing reports from the Senate. Multiple systems are requesting emergency military assistance. Fear is spreading faster than facts. Someone is accelerating the timeline, Master. I need to return immediately. What I've found here, it's bigger than we thought.
As his ship lifts off from Kamino's storm-racked platforms, Anakin carries with him evidence that will either save the Republic or destroy it. Deep in the Force, something calls to Anakin Skywalker with the desperate urgency of blood and pain. The visions come in fragments. His mother's face, twisted with agony. Tusken Raiders, chains. Death is approaching with the terrible inevitability of a collapsing star. For some days, the nightmares have grown stronger, pulling him away from his investigation of the Clone Army conspiracy toward Tatooine and a crisis he cannot ignore. Each meditation session brings the same images. Shmi Skywalker dying while her son pursues political mysteries across the galaxy. The choice before him tests everything he has learned about being a Jedi. Duty demands he return to Coruscant with evidence of the Clone Army deception. The Republic faces a manufactured crisis that could destroy democracy itself. But love demands he save the woman who gave him life, who sacrificed her freedom so he could find his destiny among the stars. Hyperspace routes to both worlds display on his navigation screen. Anakin makes a decision that would have been impossible before his investigation of Kamino. Instead of choosing between duty and love, he contacts the Jedi Council directly.
Masters, I must inform you of an urgent personal matter before returning to Coruscant.
The Council appears in miniature around his ship's holoprojector.
Skywalker, your investigation of the clone conspiracy takes precedence over personal concerns. The Republic's survival may depend on your intelligence.
Strong in the Force, visions are. Ignore them, dangerous it can be. But abandon duty, also dangerous that is.
Masters, I'm not asking permission to abandon my mission. I'm requesting authorization to complete it properly. If my mother dies while I could save her, the guilt will compromise everything I do afterward. But if I help her and return with clear focus, I can serve the Republic better.
The investigation has already revealed the clone army's existence. Perhaps a brief delay to resolve personal matters will not compromise the larger mission.
Masters, Anakin has shown remarkable growth during his investigation. Trust in his judgment has been well placed so far.
Go to Tatooine you may, but return quickly, you must. Trust in your training, young Skywalker. Trust in the Force.
The decision represents a fundamental shift in how both Anakin and the Order understand attachment. Tatooine's twin sons beat down mercilessly as Anakin's starfighter descends toward the moisture farm where his mother found new life with Klieg Lars. Klieg Lars sits in the farmhouse's main room, his right leg missing below the knee, his weathered face carved by grief and frustrated rage. The devastating news hits Anakin. Tusken Raiders took his mother a month ago. Klieg lost his leg attempting rescue. Everyone believes Shmi is dead. By this time, instead of rage, something else rises within Anakin. The Force flows around him with usual clarity, showing him possibilities and potential futures branching from this moment of choice. In one vision, he sees himself storming the Tusken camp with a lightsaber blazing, cutting down warriors and children alike in vengeance. But in another vision, he sees a different path, harder, requiring patience, but leading to something better than revenge. Anakin can feel his mother's presence through the Force. She's still alive. The Tusken Raider camp spreads across a canyon floor like a primitive city. Anakin approaches on foot, his lightsaber visible but unignited, his hands raised in peaceful intent. Instead of acting, he waits. Standing motionless under the blazing suns, he extends his Force senses through the camp, feeling his mother's weak but living presence. What follows is unprecedented. Negotiation instead of violence. Anakin offers trade, his mechanical skills for his mother's freedom. He repairs their moisture evaporators, demonstrates technological improvements, and most importantly, shows them respect. The Sand People witness something extraordinary when Shmi emerges, supported by Tusken women who cared for her injuries. The reunion transforms everyone present. Love bridges species barriers. Forgiveness transcends ancient conflicts. As they return to the moisture farm, Anakin feels the Force flowing through him with a perfect balance. No anger, no hatred, just peace and the knowledge that choosing compassion over vengeance has saved both his mother and his soul. The Jedi Council chamber has never seen a gathering quite like this one. For the first time in centuries, non-Jedi sit among the Masters as equals. Senator Padmé Amidala, Senator Bail Organa, their presence representing a bridge between the Order and the Republic it serves. Anakin stands at the chamber's center, his report complete. Evidence of the clone army conspiracy spread across holographic displays that illuminate every seat. The scope of deception is staggering. A secret military force commissioned through forged authorization, designed to be discovered at the precise moment it would bypass constitutional safeguards. But this is only part of the truth they have uncovered.
The Military Creation Act vote has been postponed 3 times, while additional intelligence is gathered. Someone is waiting for the perfect moment to introduce this army as the solution to manufactured problems.
Her evidence is comprehensive, gathered through weeks of careful political investigation, supply disruptions that create fear, communication failures that prevent coordination, emergency authorizations that expand executive power, each element designed to make the Republic desperate for military salvation.
Senator, you're describing a systematic preparation for constitutional overthrow, but who has the access, authority, and patience required for such an operation?
Dark side at work here, I sense. But hidden, the enemy remains. Reveal themselves through this army they plan to do.
Masters, I believe we should refuse to command this army. If we don't provide legitimacy to their crisis, the conspiracy collapses.
Skywalker, if the Republic faces genuine military threats, we cannot abandon our duty to protect it.
But Master, if the threats aren't genuine, if everything we've discovered shows this crisis is manufactured,
If we command this army, we become part of the conspiracy instead of its solution. Anakin makes a crucial point. In the Senate, we're seeing pressure for immediate army deployment against threats that appeared overnight. Fear is overriding rational analysis.
Difficult question this is. Serve the Republic we must, but if the Republic's enemies have infiltrated its institutions, how serve it truly can we?
Perhaps our refusal to command the army would expose the conspiracy. If this is truly about engineering a crisis, they need Jedi legitimacy to complete their plan. Without it...
Without Jedi commanders, the army becomes what it really is. An unauthorized military force created through deception. The Senate would be forced to investigate rather than deploy.
Masters, we face a choice between two dangers. Command an army of unknown origin during a manufactured crisis, or refuse and potentially leave the Republic defenseless against a genuine threat.
In the Force, clear the path is not, but wisdom sometimes requires uncomfortable choices. Refuse to command this army. We will.
Master Yoda, how do we explain this refusal to the Senate? They expect Jedi leadership in military matters.
Truth we will speak. Suspicions about the origins of the army we shall share. Let the Senate decide whether to investigate or deploy. Guide them we can. Command deception we will not.
Hours later, the Senate chamber buzzes with confused energy as Supreme Chancellor Palpatine gavels this special session to order. The gathered senators expect routine authorization for Jedi command of the newly discovered clone army. Instead, they witness something unprecedented in galactic history. Mace Windu stands at the central podium, his presence commanding attention from every delegation. Behind him, holographic displays show evidence that will shatter the narrative carefully constructed over months of preparation.
Honored Senators, the Jedi Council has completed its investigation of the clone army discovered on Kamino. We have grave concerns about deploying this force. Our investigation reveals that this army was commissioned using forged authorization from Master Sifo Dyas, who died years before the contracts were signed. Someone with access to Jedi credentials created this military force without constitutional oversight.
The evidence unfolds across the chamber's displays, financial records, communications logs, timeline analysis that prove systematic deception. Several senators lean forward, studying data that contradicts everything that they've been told about the army's origins.
Master Windu, are you suggesting this army was created illegally?
We are stating that this army was created through deception. Who authorized it? Who funded it? And why they chose to hide these facts from both the Senate and the Jedi Council. These questions must be answered before any deployment.
From the Chancellor's box, Palpatine watches with carefully controlled expression. The army was supposed to be welcomed as salvation, not questioned as conspiracy. The Jedi were supposed to provide legitimacy, not expose deception.
Master Windu, surely you're not suggesting we reject military assistance when multiple systems face separatist threats?
Chancellor, we're suggesting that the constitutional process matters more than expedience. If this army was created legitimately, investigation will confirm it. If it wasn't, I move for immediate establishment of a Senate committee to investigate the clone army's authorization. Until those investigations are complete, deployment should be suspended.
Senator Organa's motion has merit. We cannot deploy military forces of questionable origin simply because we're afraid. The Republic's strength lies in its legal foundations, not just its armies.
But other voices rise in opposition. Senators who genuinely believe the military threats require immediate response.
While we investigate and debate, systems burn under separatist attack. This army could save millions of lives.
The debate continues for hours, revealing deep divisions within the Senate. Some senators argue for immediate deployment, despite unanswered questions about the Army's origins. Others demand a full investigation before any authorization is granted. A third faction pushes for compromise, limited deployment while inquiries proceed. Then Master Windu steps forward again, his voice cutting through the noise.
Until this investigation concludes, the Jedi Order will address any verified threats directly. We will deploy our own knights to stabilize contested systems and prevent escalation. The Republic will not be left defenseless, but we will not legitimize deception.
The offer shifts the chamber. Fear loses its sharpest edge. Emergency no longer feels inevitable. Throughout the session, Palpatine's frustration becomes increasingly difficult to mask. Without Jedi command legitimizing the clone army, without panic overwhelming constitutional restraint, his carefully orchestrated crisis begins to unravel, replaced by something he never intended to allow: rational debate about the Republic's future. As the session concludes without resolution, emergency committees are established to investigate the Army's true origins, while the Senate considers its options. The clone troopers remain on Kamino, trained and ready, but politically unusable without proper authorization. In his private chamber that evening, Anakin Skywalker sits in meditation, feeling the Force flow around him with unprecedented clarity. The investigation that began as a test of attachment has become something greater, a transformation not just of himself, but of the Republic's understanding of power and its proper use. Weeks after the Senate's investigation begins, the galaxy is transformed in ways no one anticipated. What should have been the Republic's darkest hour has become its greatest awakening, as constitutional democracy proves stronger than forces trying to destroy it. On Coruscant, Senate Investigation Committee hearings reveal the scope of the Clone Army conspiracy with devastating clarity. Financial audits trace the funding through a web of shell corporations, ultimately controlled by unknown beneficiaries. The communication intercepts show coordination between supposed independent separatist attacks and the Army's convenient discovery. Most damning of all, analysis of the Kaminoan contracts reveal modifications made after Sifo-Dyas's death, modifications that would give unprecedented control over the Army's deployment to the Chancellor's office. Senator Mon Mothma chairs the hearings with prosecutorial precision, her questions methodically dismantling every justification for emergency military deployment.
General, you're telling this committee that systems across the galaxy began requesting emergency military assistance within hours of each other, despite having no communication about coordinated separatist threats.
The military officials struggle to explain coordination patterns that make sense only if someone orchestrated the crisis from above. One by one, the elements of the conspiracy emerge. False intelligence reports, manufactured supply crisis, communication disruptions timed to prevent coordinated Republic response. But the investigation reveals something else. Without the emergency powers that should have accompanied military deployment, the Senate has functioned better than it has in years. Forced to address problems through constitutional means rather than emergency measures, senators have rediscovered the collaborative governance the Republic was founded upon. Meanwhile, on Geonosis, Count Dooku stares at communications from his separatist allies with growing alarm. The plan was simple. Coordinated attacks would create fear, the clone army would provide a solution, and emergency powers would transform the Republic into an empire ripe for conquest.
Count Dooku, the Republic's response to our attacks has been diplomatic rather than military. They're offering negotiations instead of threatening retaliation.
Continue the attacks. Eventually they'll be forced to deploy their army.
Count, the system committees are investigating the army's origins. If they discover our connections to its creation...
The truth Dooku cannot voice is that the separatist movement was never designed to win through military victory. It was designed to create fear, justify emergency powers, and provide an enemy for the clone army to fight. Without the army's deployment, without emergency powers, the separatist cause lacks both purpose and popular support. On Kamino, the clone troopers continue their training, but uncertainty clouds their purpose. Without Senate authorization, without Jedi command, they exist in legal limbo, a military force with no legitimate deployment orders. Several clone commanders request meetings with Senate investigators, their questions revealing disturbing implications about their conditioning and training. Some orders, they explain, were executed without their consent. But the specificity of their programming, the absence of verification protocols, suggests something more sinister than defensive preparation.
Senators, we're conditioned with what the Kaminoans called emergency loyalty protocols. We don't know what they do exactly. The conditioning was subconscious, but sometimes, during training exercises, we'd find ourselves following orders we didn't remember receiving. It felt like someone could make us do things without our conscious knowledge.
The testimony sends chill through the Senate committee. The clones themselves don't understand their own programming, suggesting psychological manipulation far beyond standard military training. In the Jedi Temple, Master Yoda sits deep in meditation, feeling the Force flows that surround the galaxy's transformation. What should have been the Order's greatest crisis has become an opportunity for renewal. Freed from military command, the Jedi have returned to their true purpose, guardians of peace and justice, not generals of war. Anakin enters the meditation chamber, his own Force presence more balanced than Yoda has ever sensed from the young knight.
Changed you have, young Skywalker. Grown beyond what the Council had expected.
The investigation taught me patience, Master. But the choice on Tatooine taught me something more important. That there's always a path between extremes if you're wise enough to find it.
Ready for the trials, perhaps you are. Master's rank, earned through wisdom, not just power.
Master Yoda, I think the trials we just completed were more important than any ceremony. The Republic tested itself and chose truth over convenience. The Jedi tested themselves and chose justice over tradition. Maybe that's what real mastery looks like.
Across the galaxy, the effects of the conspiracy's exposure continue to ripple outward. On Naboo, Padmé Amidala works with constitutional scholars to draft reforms preventing future emergency power abuse. The Military Creation Act is rewritten to require extensive oversight and verification before any army deployment. But perhaps most importantly, the separatist movement begins to fracture as its true purpose becomes clear. Systems that joined the Confederacy out of legitimate grievances against Republic corruption find themselves allied with war profiteers and power-hungry opportunists. One by one, they begin withdrawing from the alliance and requesting readmission to the Republic under new constitutional protections. On Coruscant, in a private office far from the Senate hearings, Supreme Chancellor Palpatine reviews reports that spell the end of decades of careful planning. Without the clone army legitimizing emergency powers, without fear overriding constitutional process, without war justifying authoritarian measures, his path to empire has crumbled. Worse still, the investigation is expanding beyond the army's origins toward broader patterns of Republic governance, financial audits, communication review, staff background checks, the kind of systematic examination that could expose connections Palpatine spent years hiding.
Chancellor, the Senate committees are requesting access to emergency authorization records dating back 5 years. If they discover...
They will discover nothing. All relevant records have been classified under executive privilege.
But even as he speaks, Palpatine knows the strategy is failing. Constitutional scholars are challenging executive privilege claims, courts are ruling on information disclosure requirements, and public pressure is mounting for complete transparency. The Sith Lord who spent decades orchestrating the Republic's transformation into empire faces a truth he never considered. Democracy, when properly defended, is stronger than the forces trying to destroy it. 6 months later, the Republic emerges from its greatest constitutional crisis, transformed and strengthened. The clone army is officially disbanded. Its troopers offered citizenship and support in finding civilian careers. The investigation into its creation leads to the arrest of dozens of conspirators, though the ultimate mastermind remains hidden. Constitutional reforms prevent future emergency power abuses while maintaining the Republic's ability to respond to genuine crisis. The Jedi Order, freed from military command, refocuses on its traditional role of protecting justice and maintaining peace through wisdom rather than warfare. Most importantly, the crisis has awakened a new generation of Republic leaders, committed to the principles their predecessors nearly abandoned. Senators like Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, and Padmé Amidala emerge as voices of constitutional governance, ensuring that fear never again overwhelms reason in Republic decision-making. And in the Jedi Temple, Master Anakin Skywalker, granted the rank through wisdom rather than warfare, trains a new generation of younglings in lessons he learned through investigation rather than combat. Attachment, he teaches them, can strengthen rather than weaken a Jedi's connection to the Force. Truth, even when difficult to discover, always proves more powerful than convenient lies. The galaxy that should have become an empire remains a republic, flawed but functioning, protected by Jedi who remember their true purpose and governed by leaders who understand that democracy requires constant vigilance to survive. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.